Welcome to the Microbiome Report. I'm your host, Andrea Wien, and today we have one of our very special favorite guests on, Megan Telpner, and she is here today for a short mini episode. Again, these are 15 minutes, so a quick bite of something interesting that you can sink your teeth into. And today we're talking about two recipes that show the power of food outside of typical gut healing recipes that we would think about, or gut supportive recipes. You know, on the show, we often talk about things like sauerkraut and kefir and fermented vegetables. Obviously, those are going to be supportive of gut health. But what about all the other foods that we're eating 95% of the time? So that's what we're jumping on today. We're going to go through two really fun recipes with Megan. Megan, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me back. Always a pleasure to chat with you.
So I think what I took away from when I took your course was that there's so many different ways that we can use foods that support the body as a whole, and then by default also support the gut. And I'm thinking about things like cilantro, for example, being able to pull heavy metals from the bloodstream. Like, what an amazing gift to have guacamole, and then also such a health benefit there, right? So that's what I really wanted to bring you on the show to talk about, is some recipes that people might not even realize what the ingredients can do for them. So what do you have for us?
Okay. Do we want to start sweet or savory first?
Let's go sweet first. We don't do dessert very often in the beginning, so let's go sweet first.
All right. So this is like a super crowd pleaser. It's one of the recipes we do in the Culinary Nutrition Expert program. It's also part of something we offer in the free mini training that we offer. And the reason why it's everywhere is because it's so good. And it's one of those recipes that is like, it's life-changing for people. It's something that when people who will eat regular chocolate candy bars, you know, the processed versions, and try this, it's like the light goes on that, wait a second, I can use whole unprocessed nourishing ingredients and have it be outstandingly delicious. So this is a hemp chocolate spread. And the reason I love it is because it's five ingredients. It doesn't require any cooking. And it can freeze, and you can basically put it on absolutely everything. And do you want me to go through the ingredients, or?
Yeah, let's go through ingredient by ingredient and just talk about what they can do in the body.
Sure. Do you remember making this one, Andrea?
I do. Mm-hmm. And it was very good. And I think you also mentioned, maybe in the course, we had something with hazelnut that was similar, to maybe a processed Nutella, maybe, that we might talk about.
We might have referred to it as like better than, but we don't want to name names necessarily. So the first ingredient in this, as the name would suggest, is hemp seeds. So we use 1/4 cup of hemp seeds. And the reason I love working with hemp seeds in making almost any smoothie, elixir, or spread like this is because the seeds themselves are super soft. So they blend up really, really smooth. They also typically are okay for people with nut allergies, because you can usually get them certified nut-free. And they are a seed. And they also have the optimal balance of omega-3 to omega-6 for anti-inflammatory benefit. And those omega-3s are like pure healing fuel for the cells that line the intestinal tract. So we can bring almost any meal or recipe back to the gut and the microbiome, and that's where this one fits in there. The next ingredient is 1/3 cup of raw cacao powder. And I like using the raw cacao because it has lower levels of caffeine, so less of a stimulant, less of that stress hormone triggering that we might find in a roasted cocoa. It's in a purer form, and raw cacao is really rich in magnesium. So again, if we want to think about the gut, that large intestine is a smooth muscle, meaning that we can't work it. We can't like strengthen it by lifting weights like we could the muscles in our arms. And so the smooth muscle of the colon typically requires bulked up stool to grip onto to move something out. Now, if we're experiencing heightened anxiety, those muscles, that muscle of the colon will constrict and can lead to constipation. And when we deal with constipation, we sort of end up with like a backlog. I call it toozy juice, like reabsorbing waste material from the colon, which then can affect the overall health and inflammatory response in the body. And that too can affect the microbiome. So that magnesium in the raw cacao helps relax that smooth muscle and can actually help us eliminate more efficiently.
I think an interesting thing to mention too is that most people are deficient in magnesium. And also one of the reasons that a lot of women that I've seen in practice crave chocolate when they're getting their period.
Exactly. And the other fun benefits relating to PMS is also the anandamide and theobromine, which often with PMS, we're dealing with heightened anxiety, cognitive or neuro symptoms. And those phytochemicals in chocolate are natural neurotransmitter enhancers. They're like some happy chemicals. So that's another added benefit.
All right. What's ingredient number 3?
Ingredient number 3 is going to be a 1/4 cup of basically your favorite fat that's solid at room temperature. So to be more specific, I would say ghee or coconut oil. I personally love ghee. I eat a lot of it. It should be certified lactose-free and casein-free. So what you get with ghee as a clarified butter is just the pure fat. And this pure fat, again, is really good for the cells of the intestinal tract and also really good for the brain. If you're going on the side of no animal products, coconut oil does the job. And actually, from a taste perspective, I think tastes even better in this because there's that natural sweetness you have with coconut oil, which is also a great fuel for the brain. The next ingredient is honey, or a sweetener of choice. In the recipe, I've written it with 2 tablespoons of honey. I go less and less and less because I don't really consume any sweeteners at all anymore. And if you're really looking to heal the gut, getting rid of sweeteners is a great approach and way to go. And because this dip itself is so good, like with apples dipped into it or strawberries dipped into it, which all have their natural occurring fructose or natural sweetness with them, this actually does work without adding additional sweetener. And then you throw in a pinch of salt. So to recap, we're doing a 1/4 cup hemp seeds, 1/3 of a cup cacao powder, 1/4 cup ghee or coconut oil, and I would say a sweetener to taste. The recipe says 2 tablespoons of honey and a pinch of salt. You just process all of those together in a food processor. I actually recommend doubling the recipe because you can freeze it. It'll store in your fridge virtually indefinitely because none of these ingredients really have a shelf life once they're chilled. Like you don't want to keep hemp seeds around for, a year. Well, maybe you could if they're cold, but you want to, it will stay a long time. And for some, depending on your machinery, it could be easier to get a smoother texture if you do a larger quantity.
Okay. I love this. And I love that it's something that is sweet because so often we talk about stay away from sugar, stay away from desserts, all these kind of things. But this is something that can be really exciting and nourishing and also scratch that little sweet tooth itch. So perfect. Okay. What's recipe number 2?
Number 2 is a grain-free flax cracker. So this is going on the savory side, and you can also use this as the serving vessel for that hemp chocolate spread. So they go really nicely together. And the flax crackers, I think, are pretty genius. 1 cup of flax seeds. So we know that flax seeds, maybe we don't know. I'll tell you. Flax seeds have this beautiful mucilaginous benefit to them, meaning that, when you soak them and they get a little bit slimy or snotty, you could think of the gel in aloe, like in an aloe plant has that same property. And that gel, that mucilaginous property of soaked flax, it's also in soaked chia seeds, is soothing to the lining of the intestinal tract, nourishes the cells of the intestinal tract, and it can also bind to and help eliminate excess mucus from the gut, which can directly benefit nutrient absorption through the lining of the intestine. So many benefits to flax. This one is actually done either raw in a dehydrator, or I'll explain how to do it in an oven. So you're also able to preserve some of those omega-3 benefits as well by not cooking it at a high temperature.
This was a recipe that when we made in class, I was like, oh, wait, I can make crackers? Like it was so outside the realm. And I cook a lot and I'm a very adventurous cook. And crackers were just not on my radar. So this was a super exciting one for me. And I think too, when you talk about flax seeds, you mentioned making sure to buy them whole and ground them yourself. Can you talk about why that is?
Absolutely. So flax seeds have those omega-3s, which I mentioned, and these omega-3s are sensitive to heat, light, and oxygen. So one of the worst things you can buy, there's a lot of bad things you could buy, but one of the less beneficial things you could buy is ground flax, and you'll see it sold as flax meal in like a clear plastic bag sitting on a store shelf. And who knows how long it's been there. So as soon as you crack that seed, you're exposing those essential fats to first oxygen. If they're not in a dark container, you've got the light, and typically it's not refrigerated if it's just sitting on a store shelf. So if you buy them whole, and they will keep a lot longer on your shelf, but then you grind them and you're getting that benefit right away. There's no time for those fats to oxidize. So that is the benefit of buying them whole, and you can grind them in a spice grinder. So it doesn't have to be a whole dramatic situation. Like you don't need to be with the mortar and pestle grinding your flax seeds. In the case of this recipe, we're actually using them whole and soaked.
And what is the benefit of soaking?
The soaking of the flax seeds are going to release that mucilaginous benefit. And that's part of what actually binds this cracker together because, again, it's grain-free. There's no starches. There's no binding agents in it.
Okay, the flaxseed are the first ingredient. What are we putting in there with them?
So we want to add some flavor. We're going to use half a red onion. We're going to use half a bunch of cilantro. And I know that the world is divided right now in a big way between people who like cilantro and don't, right? That's what we're going to
I'm team cilantro. I got to tell. I am totally too. On team cilantro.
I think that that's one of the questions you should ask on a first date because it can change everything. You mentioned guacamole at the start of the show, and my husband, Josh, does not like cilantro. And so our guacamole game is so weak. I got to make it for him.
Real life decisions that you're questioning these days.
Seriously. But fun fact, it's an enzyme thing. So some people can, there's a phytochemical in cilantro, and people who have this specific enzyme, I don't know if they have it or they're missing it, but it makes cilantro taste and smell. The best description I ever got was opening up a hot soapy dishwasher. That's the taste that people have. But for some people, when you chop or juice or blend cilantro, something in it gets deactivated and it's more palatable. So in this recipe, because this is being blended in some way, some people will be able to tolerate just the beautiful flavor and those heavy metal drawing benefits of cilantro. So if someone is adamantly on the team, no, not ever cilantro, then omit it. It's that easy.
Can you also use parsley here? Would that work?
You could. Parsley also has a strong taste, so it could tend towards a little bit of bitterness, but you could also just start, I would just add another quarter cup of parsley to the recipe. You could put basil in it. You could put rosemary. You could put any herbs you want. The flax seeds is the base, and then you can just play with it. We're going to add 1 avocado. So avocado also adds a little bit of fat property to this and improves the texture of the cracker. I add 1 tomato. And again, that gives it a liquid. So something for all of it to blend together with. And it also adds a little bit of that flavor. 2 tablespoons of lime juice, which again, for flavor, for liquid, adds a little bit of that flavor balance, and a teaspoon of salt. So to recap, the core of this recipe will be 1 cup of flax seeds, 1 avocado, 1 tomato, some lime juice, 2 tablespoons roughly, 1 teaspoon of salt. And then for the flavorings, I've used half a red onion and a bunch of cilantro, but you can go to town mixing and matching the flavors you want. You could add garlic, you could add chives from the garden, you could add whatever you want to flavor these.
And you mentioned that these could be paired with the spread that we talked about from the first recipe. Could you go sweet with these? Could you add maybe some cinnamon, nutmeg, maybe a little bit of coconut sugar?
Absolutely. And I would say leave out the onion and tomato and maybe put in an apple or even some berries and see how that goes. What you'd want to do once you've got all your ingredients is blend it. So you want to blend it not until it's smooth, like a pulp, but until it's well blended. You might see some of the whole flax seeds, but most of them will be broken up. And then you want to spread it out evenly, either on dehydrator sheets or in your oven. Now, I discovered something recently when I moved into my new house because we are redoing the kitchen. So I was shopping for new ovens and I was like, I have to get an oven with a proof function on it because I keep seeing this and I bake bread. And then I discovered in my old house that I had this proof function, and it's basically sets your oven at around 100 degrees. So if you have a proof function or can set your oven basically as low as 150, you can do it in there. You would just spread this mix over a parchment lined cookie sheet, put that in the oven, and just keep an eye on it because it's probably going to be 3 to 4, even 5 hours to really dry it out. You could bake it, but then you're playing with those omega-3s. Not the end of the world for a nice cracker, but if you can do it on the slow, low method, you're going to get a better result.
Yeah. And this was, again, one that I made and was so pleasantly surprised by and have made multiple times since. So I want you to just talk very briefly about your course, which is going on now in terms of people being able to sign up. And I know you don't do admissions all the time. So can you just tell people where they could find that, what it's all about, and what's coming next in the next few months?
Absolutely. So every year we run in September the Culinary Nutrition Expert Program. We run it just once a year, and it's a 14-week certification program, and it is life-changing. So registration is now open. And basically the objective of this program is to not just impart the knowledge and skills of culinary nutrition, meaning really good cooking, really solid nutrition education, and the practical application of both of these things. So like throw away the textbooks, all the learning is happening in the kitchen. We're also empowering our students and graduates on how to effectively and confidently and inclusively share this information, whether it's in their household, in their own home kitchen with their kids or parents or siblings or friends or spouse, or in a more professional setting, like on an amazing podcast. Because I taught Andrea everything she knows. Just kidding.
This is true. This is so true. No, but I did start with you. You were my first course, my first foray into, okay, I want to get into nutrition. Where do I go? And so you were really the entry point for me in so much of what I do now. So I'm forever grateful for that. And I will say too, what I loved about your course was I am a meat eater. And so sometimes I get stuck in the meat, protein, carb kind of pattern for dinner. And I loved that we did so many creative recipes that were vegetarian. And you always, if you were able to have a meat component, you could add that in if you wanted to, but it was not a critical piece of the recipe. And it changed the way I cook. And so for that reason alone, I think the course is so valuable. Even if people don't want to go on and have a career in nutrition, just for a home cook, it's such a valuable course.
Well, thank you for that insight. The entire program is gluten-free and dairy-free, and we do have options. So if someone is vegetarian or vegan, there's pairings of recipes for that track. If someone wants to eat more paleo style, they can choose that track of recipes. You can mix and match. But ultimately, the reason why it's gluten-free, dairy-free, and heavy on the plant-based foods is not because I'm going to dictate the right diet for every human on the planet, but that people who eat meat or dairy or gluten definitely don't need more ways to eat it. And that was really a big part of the foundation. And we do get into the benefits, if someone's using the diet for healing properties or healing benefits, why certain foods are best omitted until we've eliminated some of the symptoms or primary concerns.
Absolutely. And we will link to that also in the show notes at biomehealth.com/pages/podcast. Megan also has these recipes online. I will link to that, and I'll link to some of the course materials. She does a free masterclass that you can look at, and some open houses, and just more information on the course will be at our show notes page, which is also linked if you're on an iPhone. It will be in the little description as well. So you should be able to see the link to all of this in the description on our show notes page and in the description for the show. So Megan, thank you so much for joining us. Again, it's always such a pleasure, and good luck with the course.
Thank you so much. Always nice chatting with you. And thank you again for having me on.
Have a good day. Bye.